Zak Bagans is the primary host of the hit travel channel show Ghost Adventures. If you don't watch Ghost Adventures, but you're into the paranormal, then the name will and should sound familiar. When first coming onto the paranormal scene, Zak was quite boisterous and fearless in his investigations. Some would even say he was downright rude and arrogant, as he was a big user in provocation. Over the years, Zak has calmed down and matured tremendously in regards to his paranormal investigating style. Whether this be in part due to hard knock lessons or the classic maturing with age is up for debate. What isn't up for debate is Zak's increasing interest in the darker part of the paranormal. Of course, I'm talking about demonic entities. Perhaps this increasing interest of Zak's is what led him to Gary, Indiana to purchase a home dubbed the Demon House. In truth, we may never know his reasons, and in this case, they don't really matter. What matters is that on March 16th, 2018, the world was introduced to a small home in Gary, Indiana that has caused more turmoil and confusion than the majority of haunted places featured on Zak's show Ghost Adventures. I'm Melvin from Unexplained Possibilities, and this is my review of Demon House. When you hear a quote that goes, "This is the case that really effed me up," as Zak says at the start of the documentary, then you're either going to be in for a treat or utter disaster. Either way, I was ready for it. I've seen Zak hype up Demon House on social media for a few years, and I even remember reading the articles about him purchasing the Demon House. So, I've been aware of this project since the beginning, and I initially thought it would basically be an extended and better produced Ghost Adventures episode. I'm assuming most of those who watch Demon House will be under similar thought. I was, however, very wrong. This is very much a project that will feel similar to Ghost Adventures, but is its own thing. You will see familiar faces, but you won't see the camaraderie that we know so well between the Ghost Adventures hosts. This is very much a solo Zak project, and because of that, we see a bit of a different side to Zak, a more real side of him with less bravado, unable to boss and direct people where to go while he himself kicks back elsewhere. This is a Zak who shows his fear and wears it on his shirt. Dare I say, this is a Zak we need to see more often. So, before watching Demon House, try your best to get Ghost Adventures out of your head. A task nearly impossible, as Zak is synonymous with that show. Now, this is something I wasn't expecting from the documentary, and it was how good the interviews were and how people initially didn't want to step up and talk about their experiences. Those who did speak up weren't very eager to do so. You can see in their face, you can see their fear and hesitation, which gives credence to their story and experience with the Demon House. Zak does an excellent job showcasing and bringing out the emotions of those he interviews. If nothing else, Zak has an amazing ability to draw out a person's emotions to the surface. However, part of me thinks that in these cases, the people wanted to share their story, but because of the experiences they've had, they're afraid more supernatural, unexplainable events would happen to them. Now, something that will please skeptics is Zak brought up the possibility that all the happenings of the Demon House is a hoax. Zak even took active measure investigating the hoax possibility and came across people who've been in the Demon House who have had absolutely nothing happen to them. Up until certain events, part of the film crew believed the demon house to be a hoax. Now, I don't want to say what the incident was to avoid spoilers, but I will say that the after effects seem to have been felt by several people. One criticism I have is Zach basically ambushing two separate people who lived in the house for interviews. The people initially said they did not want to be in the documentary or to talk about that house. That, however, did not stop Zach, and in a strange way, the reluctance adds even more credence to the demon house being real. Not taking no for an answer, Zach literally used a story from the local news that didn't blur out the address of former demon house occupants and tracked them down. While I'm all for getting each side of the story out, I feel that there is a code of ethics that should be followed while doing so. Ultimately, the people still said no to being in the documentary and wanted nothing else to do with that house. Zach didn't need to film going to these people's home only to be rejected, or rather, it didn't need to be in the film. I feel it's only there to add a little more believability and some conflict. Zach could have very easily and quickly mentioned in a talking head that former occupants of the home didn't want to be a part of this project and end it with that. It wasn't any need to track them down and almost intimidate them into sharing the story. And those actions of Zach actually had very real consequences for one family member. If Zach ever decides to do another project similar to Demon House, then he really should respect people saying no and not try to circumvent that and invade their privacy and bring up past events that they clearly want to remain in the past. The documentary is 1 hour, 43 minutes, and honestly, it did not feel that way. Sometimes these type of films drag on and you feel every minute of it. Not so with Demon House. You are aware and alert, and you're taking in every second of this documentary. There are no parts in this film that I found to be slow, which is amazing to me because majority of stories like this, especially paranormal ones, they tend to be extremely slow. They have these slow parts and sometimes they just drag on. But I'm happy to say that Demon House does not drag on, no slow parts, and it keeps the flow going from start to finish. Now, I've criticized Zach and others for this, but I feel he did not take enough steps to protect himself and the crew from the potential threat of the house. While perhaps behind the scenes they took precautions that we, the viewing audience, don't know about, on screen they certainly didn't. This could have been an opportune time to teach people and introduce them to methods for protecting oneself against negative and malicious energy. Saying that, this is more of a personal criticism and it doesn't take away from the film in any way. I just feel it's a missed opportunity for teaching, as this film, and like many paranormal stories, will influence people to go out to haunted places and fool around. Teaching them how to lower the risk of something happening to them on a spiritual level would have been valuable. Something that does take away from the Demon House is the theatrics. Fans of Ghost Adventures will know this very well. While the reenactments do serve a purpose, they're ultimately not needed. The story told from the people who have had experiences in the house is more than powerful enough to keep everyone entranced and interested. In fact, the reenactments do harm to the integrity of the documentary by making it look like some sort of supernatural horror film. The same goes for the music, because at certain points of the film, the music would literally change to that of something we see in horror films when the killer finds a victim. It's very much not needed, and its only purpose is to keep people on edge. which I'm not sure if that should be the desired effects for something that's trying to be serious in its talk about the unseen world of the paranormal. Fortunately, the theatrics are kept to a minimum, so it's not too bad. The casual viewer will most likely enjoy the reenactments and the tense music, while the more serious watcher with paranormal experience or they're in the paranormal field will find them completely pointless. When I saw that Demon House finally released, I went in expecting something decent from Zak, but what he gave me was a darn good documentary that kept my interest and intrigue at an all-time high. I was invested in the story, the experience, and the people from start to finish. This is something that all fans of Ghost Adventures will love. Believers who don't particularly care for Zak will find his more toned down, more real, and less bravado self not only tolerable, but likable. They will also find themselves invested in the stories and the events surrounding the house. While skeptics will find Demon House entertaining, they will still remain skeptical by the film's end, and that's okay, because Demon House isn't trying to change people's minds about anything. While, yes, this is entertainment as well, it's something very real behind it. The emotions that the people showed were very real. The pain they felt, the fear, all of it, very real. And Demon House does a great job showing that while also making you ask yourself, should I be watching this? What if something happens to me? Demon House succeeds the most by pulling you in and making you want more. When it ends, you'll want follow-ups. You'll want to know the cause of the chaos. You'll want to dig deeper into all the stories and simply know more about them. The saddest thing is that it probably will never be a follow-up, as this place affected Zak on a level he's never been affected on before. So much so, he destroyed the house, and now it's just an empty lot. Saying that, whether you're skeptic, a believer, or somewhere in between, this is one paranormal documentary that should be seen. I fully recommend it. But I must warn that there are some disturbing moments, and this isn't something for kids. So please be aware of that if you choose to give it a watch. And with that, thank you all for checking out Unexplained Possibilities review of Demon House. And if you've seen the film for yourself, share your opinions with us in the comments section down below, or you could share it on our Twitter page or Facebook page, and those descriptions can be found below. Once again, I'm Melvin from Unexplained Possibilities, and I'll see you next time.